Bam! Hi, everybody. This is your buddy Carl. This is January 5th for the daily Bible reading, and we're plowing through. Do want to comment. Last night I was over at the well at our church and reading, and man, I was finishing up in Matthew. And if you're watching along, it was really intense and we'll continue reading in there today too. But just a side note, didn't want people to misunderstand my commentary at the end there. We do good works not to earn salvation. You do the works of God because of who we are in Christ. The word says things we were predestined to do, things God built and called for us to do. So when we do well and we're living as the Lord calls us to, we're not earning points with the Lord. Our salvation is totally by faith in Christ alone. And but from that should demonstrate works of faith. And it fulfills what's required in the law because Jesus paid for and fulfilled the requirements of the law. So it's not a place where it gives us permission to break laws and live like crazy people and live a sinful life and live like heathen. What our salvation does, it empowers us to do things that we were designed to do. So many thought there on the end of my reading because I was really compelled by Jesus' prayer for Jerusalem at the end of Matthew 23. So let's pick up today, and we are in February 5th, Exodus 21 through 23:13. So here we go, more regulations, huh? These are the regulations you must present to Israel. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he may serve for no more than 6 years. Set him free in the 7th year, and he will owe you nothing for his freedom. Did we read all that yesterday? We did read some of that. So we're up to 21:22. Here we go. So it was about how to treat slaves fairly, kind of payback for causing personal injury. So it's almost a set of laws, somewhat like what we see set up nowadays. Now, we're past the time of slavery. Well, that's a whole other topic. In other cultures, slavery is still existent today. Very sad. And because so many people haven't come into knowing Christ, knowing the fullness of the covenant. All right, won't go into all that, but so not being naive, just being aware, but we're past many of the things we see here. On to chapter 21, verse 22. Now, suppose two men are fighting, and in the process they accidentally strike a pregnant woman, so she gives birth prematurely. If no further injury results, the man who struck the woman must pay the amount of compensation the woman's husband demands, and the judges approve. But if there is further injury, the punishment must match the injury: a life for a life, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, and a foot for a foot, a burn for a burn, a wound for a wound, a bruise for a bruise. Wow. Just have to be mindful. Even today, in our justice system, in the natural, there are consequences to actions. Now, amongst Christians, this is very interesting. Now, in New Covenant life, mercy triumphs over judgment. Amongst the church, amongst people who have grace for each other and live under grace, we should be able to extend grace according to what feels reasonable. That could be a whole debate and topic. Let's move on in the reading. Verse 26, if a man hits his male or female slave in the eye and his eye is blinded, he must let the slave go free to compensate for the eye. And if a man knocks out the tooth of his male or female slave, he must let the slave go free to compensate for his tooth. If an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox must be stoned, and its flesh may not be eaten. In such a case, however, the owner will not be held liable. But suppose the ox had a reputation for gorging, and the owner had been informed, but failed to keep it under control. If the ox then kills someone, it must be stoned, and the owner must also be put to death. Wow. In that time, if you weren't taking care of your animals and you were responsible for something they did, you could die for it. Wow. Verse 30, however, the dead person's relatives may accept payment to compensate for the loss of life. The owner of the ox may redeem his life by paying whatever is demanded. Now that's typical of today, right? So you'll see things in the law that still relate to modern times, and other things over years and seasons and the new time of life for mankind. Things change. Moving on. Suppose someone digs or uncovers a pit and fails to cover it, and then an ox or a donkey falls into it. The owner of the pit must pay full compensation to the owner of the animal, but then he gets to keep the dead animal. Interesting. If someone's ox injures a neighbor's ox and the injured ox dies, then the two owners must sell the live ox and divide the price equally between them. They must also divide the dead animal. But if the ox had a reputation for goring, yet its owner failed to keep it under control, he must pay full compensation, a live ox for the dead one, but he may keep the dead ox. Chapter 22. Property loss, protection of property. If someone steals an ox or sheep and then kills or sells it, the thief must pay back 5 oxen for each oxen stolen, and 4 sheep for each sheep stolen. If a thief is caught in the act of breaking into a house and is struck and killed in the process, the person who killed the thief is not guilty of murder. Sound familiar? But if it happens in daylight, the one who killed the thief is guilty of murder. Now that's an interesting comparison. Don't know why. Moving on, something to study further. A thief who's caught must pay in full for everything he stole. If he cannot pay, he must be sold as a slave to pay for his theft. If someone steals an ox or a donkey or a sheep and it is found in the thief's possession, then the thief must pay double the value of the stolen animal. If an animal is grazing in a field or vineyard and the owner lets it stray into someone else's field to graze, then the animal's owner must pay compensation from the best of his own grain or grapes. So most of the laws are very practical things. And we even see that in modern legal stuff nowadays. Okay? Very, very interesting. 22 verse 6. If you're burning thorn bushes and the fire gets out of control and spreads into another person's field, destroying the sheaves or the uncut grain or the whole crop, the one who started the fire must pay for the lost crop. Suppose someone leaves money or goods with a neighbor for safekeeping, and they're stolen from the neighbor's house. If the thief is caught, the compensation is double the value of what was stolen. But if the thief is not caught, the neighbor must appear before God, who will determine if he stole the property. That's an interesting thing. So somehow the Lord would reveal to the judges of the time if this person was the thief, and maybe lying about it, probably. Verse 9, suppose there's a dispute between two people who both claim to own a particular ox, donkey, sheep, article of clothing, or any lost property. Both parties must come before God, and the person whom God declares guilty must pay double compensation to the other. Wow. Now, we're not sure if God had to be speaking to the judges of the people of the day. That's how they would write it in this fashion. And they would trust that the judges were hearing properly. Remember how Jethro's, which was Moses' father-in-law, said, you got to disperse all this kind of legal work or overseeing the problems of a nation, right? And Moses took care of the bigger cases. And then he assigned different honorable men to be judges in the land, to different divisions and tribes and groups, right? Almost like our judicial system in a way. Pretty amazing. Guilty of verse 10. Now suppose someone leaves a donkey, ox, sheep, or any other animal with the neighbor. Oh, we did that. Sorry. If someone borrows an animal from a neighbor and it injures or dies when the owner is absent, the person who borrowed it must pay full compensation. But if the owner was present, no compensation is required, and no compensation is required if the animal was rented. For this loss is covered by the rental fee. How about that? Social responsibilities. Here we go. If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged to anyone and has sex with her, he must pay the customary bride price and marry her. Wow. There you go. If you were messing around, there you go. You had to marry the girl. But if her father refuses to let him marry her, the man must still pay him an amount equal to the bride price of a virgin. Sorry, ladies, weird times then. Women were not in equal status at all, if you think of it like that. So anyway, remember, we're talking about the culture, the times, the dispensation of history there. So we just move on. Yeah, it's sad. 18, you must not allow a sorceress to live. Wow. Anyone, yeah. Even then, God did not like other seers or sorcery or magic to be happening. Does it happen? Yes. When people say, do you believe in magic and all the dark arts or different stuff? Like, sure. I think God has his part. There's the light side and there's the dark. There's God's world. There's the demonic world. And in that time, man, if it was found out somebody was dabbling in the dark arts, they were to be put to death. Nowadays, we just got to deal with it. It's still in the earth. It's all over. So don't be dealing with, you know, sorcerers, people that are conjuring things, getting into witchcraft or all of that. All of that comes under the, if it's not in the Lord, you know, you're dabbling in dark stuff. So, verse 19, anyone who has sexual relations with an animal must certainly be put to death. Wow. Verse 20, anyone who sacrifices to any god other than the Lord must be destroyed. Wow. In that time, in that dispensation, in those tribes following the Lord, if you were found to be living outside of the covenant, you paid with your life. Wow. Verse 21, you must not mistreat or oppress foreigners in any way. Remember, you yourselves were once foreigners in the land of Egypt. Something to take note. Yeah, it's important to honor people of all cultures as they come into the land. Even in America, we're a melting pot. People say, how do you feel about that? We're a land of immigrants, you know, and we need to honor that and honor people that come into the land. By the way, this isn't a license for people to break the law to come into the land. It's simple. You know, we are still a land of laws. Doesn't mean we don't want to help people. So we have to have compassion. We need to reach out and help. We need to try to make it easier. This isn't about the politics, but it's about how to live as the Lord guides us. So let's not mix that up. Let's keep it in how the Lord lays it out and how we're called to live that out. Verse 22, you must not exploit a widow or an orphan. If you exploit them in any way and they cry out to me, then I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will blaze against you, and I will kill you with the sword. Then your wives will be widows and your children fatherless. So even then, the Lord's calling for us to take care of widows and orphans and those that are in need. If you lend money to any of my people who are in need, do not charge interest as a moneylender would. If you take your neighbor's cloak as security for a loan, you must return it before sunset. So there were even strict guidelines for how we helped neighbors or help family people. It's different than how society kind of like makes loans and all that. But this would be like a way to like gain profit from friends or neighbors. Anyway, we'll move on. Verse 27, this coat may be the only blanket your neighbor has. How can a person sleep without it? If you do not return it and your neighbor cries out to me for help, then I will hear, for I am merciful. You must not dishonor God or curse any of your rulers. Wow. You must not dishonor God or curse any of your rulers. Need I say more? People, I'm moving on. That's across the board, friends, sons and daughters, Christians especially. I don't care of the politics of the day. How are we speaking about people? Not people you like, but what about the people you don't like or you don't agree with? Blessings and cursings should not come out of the same mouth, is what New Covenant would say. And the Lord is reprimanding us here too to be careful how we speak, especially about rulers. Verse 29, you must not hold anything back when you give me offerings from your crops and your wine. Got to back up again, man. I'm stirring with this because we're living in that day in the United States and other countries too. You see it all the time. Does that mean we need to agree? Does that mean we can't be active and demand things from our rulers and make requests and pray and be, put in our pleas, put in petitions, make opinions known? That's all fine. It's how we're speaking. So, church, we got to be super careful with that. Okay, verse 29. Don't hold anything back when you give me offerings from your crops and your wine. You must give me your firstborn sons. In other words, dedicate them to the Lord. You must also give me the firstborn of your cattle, your sheep, your goats. But leave the newborn animal with its mother for 7 days, then give it to me on the 8th day. That was a Jewish custom, very much a law. You must be my holy people. Therefore, do not eat any animal that has been torn up and killed by wild animals. Throw it to the dogs. Wow, that's an interesting thing. All right. Much to study there if you wanted to unpack it further, but I can't do that here. We're supposed to be reading. On to 23, verse 13. A call for justice. You must not pass along false rumors. You must not cooperate with evil people by lying on the witness stand. You must not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you are called to testify in a dispute, do not be swayed by the crowd to twist justice. And do not slant your testimony in favor of a person just because that person is poor. Wow. That right there, gold nuggets about we know what we should know in our hearts, truth and justice and the spirit of the law. And that still bears true today. Not telling lies, don't bear false witness, etc. Verse 4, if you come upon your enemy's ox or donkey that is strayed away, take it back to its owner. Wow, you get that? Your enemy, people you hate, a nasty neighbor, maybe a relative you think you and we shouldn't hate. So it's not our place to like, hey, I don't like this person, I'm keeping it. If you see that donkey or their stuff of someone who hates you, wow, if you see that the donkey of someone who hates you has collapsed under its load, do not walk by. Instead, stop and help. Ugh, wow, thank you, Lord. There's a place for believers to live higher. Integrity, truth, doing the right thing, even when you're looking for some kind of justice or vengeance, which we shouldn't. God takes care of vengeance. God takes care of justice. 6, in a lawsuit, you must not deny justice to the poor. 7, be sure never to be sure to never charge anyone falsely with evil. Never sentence an innocent or blameless person to death, for I never declare a guilty person to be innocent. Verse 8, take no bribes, for a bribe makes you ignore something that you clearly see. A bribe makes even a righteous person twist the truth. Wow, folks, do we hear that? A bribe makes even a righteous person twist the truth. The pressure is so great. The word just speaks plainly. I don't have to unpack that. We get that. Don't take bribes. Don't be twisted. Don't be, keep it to the plumb line. Verse 9, you must not oppress foreigners. You know what it's like to be a foreigner. For you yourselves were once foreigners in the land of Egypt for them, but in this land, in any land. People that are the locals, we take care of foreigners. We treat them with all due level of respect in living in the law, just like the rest of us want respect and live within the law. But we don't let locals and people have freedom to break laws and live wild outside of the rule of the laws of the land. Therefore, our foreigners coming in, immigrants, have to obey the laws and rules of land. I won't go into the politics. I'll say, sure, do we need to do things better in the land of politics and laws? I think we're all looking at it going like, man, we just got to find a way. We got to do it better. So that's the key, working together to do it better. Verse 10, plant and harvest your crops for 6 years, but let the land be renewed and lie uncultivated during the 7th year. Then let the poor among you harvest whatever grows on its own. Leave the rest for the wild animals to eat. The same applies to your vineyards and olive groves. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work. but on the seventh day you must stop working. This gives your ox and your donkey a chance to rest. It also allows your slaves or your workers and foreigners living among you, more workers, to be refreshed. Pay close attention to all my instructions. You must not call on the name of any other God. Do not even speak their names. Wow, Lord, yes. There's only one God, folks. There's only one true God, and he's calling that out. All right, we're going to move on. I want to unpack so many things there. Wow. Things to chew on and to meditate on and to pray about and to live. Here we go. Psalm 29, 1 through 11. A psalm of David. Honor the Lord, you heavenly beings. Honor the Lord for his glory and strength. Honor the Lord for the glory of his name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. The voice of the Lord echoes above the sea. The God of glory thunders. The Lord thunders over the mighty sea. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is majestic. The voice of the Lord splits the mighty cedars. The Lord shatters the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon's mountains skip like a calf. He makes Mount Hermon leap like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord strikes with bolts of lightning. The voice of the Lord makes the barren wilderness quake. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists mighty oaks and strips the forest bare. In his temple, everyone shouts, "Glory, glory." The Lord rules over the floodwaters. The Lord reigns as king forever. The Lord gives his people strength. The Lord blesses them with peace. Yes, Lord, may it be so. That's Psalm David. He's honoring and praising the Lord there. So we'll move on. So much awesome poetry and visual stuff there. Today's proverb is Proverbs 7, 6 through 23. That's a lot of Proverbs. Proverbs 7, 6 through 23. Here we go. 6. While I was at the window of my house looking through the curtain, I saw some naive young men, and one in particular who lacked common sense. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path by her house, and it was twilight in the evening. As deep darkness fell, the woman approached him, seductively dressed and sly of heart. She was the brash, rebellious type, never content to stay at home. She is often in the streets and markets, soliciting at every corner. So, yeah, I know the inserting here, the father here, the guy writing Proverbs, speaking to the young men, warning them about seduction. But really it speaks to the spirit of mankind. And listen what it says there. Brash and rebellious, never content to stay, often in the streets and markets, soliciting at every corner. The things that want to pull us astray, dark, weird things, whatever that may be, is more than just about living promiscuous lives. The Lord does really call us to protect ourselves and to guard our hearts and our minds in this type of thing. Sure, the natural stuff that they're actually addressing, and then the spiritual depth of what that also means. And look here, verse 13, she threw her arms around him and kissed him, and with a brazen look she said, I've just made my peace offerings and fulfilled my vows. You're the one I was looking for. I came out to find you, and here you are. My bed is spread with beautiful blankets, with colored sheets of Egyptian linen. I've perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink our fill of love until morning. Let's enjoy each other's caresses, for my husband is not at home. Ugh, this guy is going down the pit, and he's away on a long trip. He has taken a wallet full of money with him and won't return until later this month. So she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. He followed her at once, like an ox going to the slaughter. He was like a stag caught in a trap, awaiting the arrow that would pierce its heart. He was like a bird flying into a snare, little knowing it would cost him his life. Wow, this is about so much. But that, just the obvious thing is, people that get trapped in that, it's the nature of human beings. And for men and women alike. So guard our hearts. Be careful. I'm going to finish out Proverbs 7. So listen to me, people. Listen to me, my sons and daughters, and pay attention to my words. Don't let your heart stray away toward deception. Here it's saying, don't let your heart stray towards her. Don't wander down her wayward path, or any wayward path, for she has been the ruin of many. Many men have been her victims. Her house is the road to the grave. Her bedroom is the den of death. It speaks for itself. But remember, when you're reading Proverbs, try to think bigger. Think of it as a spiritual thing. Almost, it is a proverb. And it's dealing with the condition, the human condition. And that's the way we need to read it. So women, as you're seeing Proverbs like this, don't just feel like, yeah, look at those guys. They're crazy. They're just like let off like sheep to the slaughter. No, it's about the seductions of life, the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, the things that pull on us. And you think, well, I'm a good person, but there are things that still pull on people. And the word says to guard our hearts, be guarded on those things. Okay, we're moving on. Matthew 24, verse 1 through 28. So here we go, Matthew 24, 1 through 28. As Jesus was leaving the temple grounds, his disciples pointed out to him the various temple buildings. But he responded, "Do you see all these buildings? I tell you the truth. They will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another." Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?" Verse 4, Jesus told them, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah." There will be people faking being Jesus or being messiahs, or gurus or great spiritual teachers, right? That's what we're watching for. If it's not Jesus, folks, it's not hitting the plumb line. That's just the way it is. They will deceive many, and this is true throughout the history of man. Verse 6, "And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world, but all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers." Man, insert. You don't become a Christian lightly. In our world, in America, where I'm speaking from, if you're watching from outside of the country, we don't get under this kind of persecution normally. Normally it's mockery, or people think, Christians, bah, humbug. Around the world, a lot of people are dying for their faith. And right now, martyrdom is as bad as it's ever been. In fact, worse in our days. So keep people in your prayers. The world will hate us if we're really following Jesus. "And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will deceive many people. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold." Man, this is right on, right, folks? We see it, and the more you're spiritually aware, you see it. And people hate you for it, especially if you call it out. And it's not with judgment. You just hold up a standard of truth and righteousness, and people are going to hate it. And at the same time, we can't let our love of people grow cold. We can't become harsh. No, we got to guard our hearts against that, folks. Verse 13, Jesus says, "But the one who endures to the end will be saved, and the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it, and then the end will come." And I'm going to read all the way to Matthew 24, all the way down here to 28. Yes, Lord. "The day is coming when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place." There's a parenthesis here. Reader, pay attention. There are footnotes. You can study that more. In the end of times, you're just going to see the most unbelievably sacrilegious stuff. Verse 16, then those in Judea must flee to the hills, and a person out on the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return even to get their coat. How terrible it will be for pregnant women and for nursing mothers in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter or on the Sabbath. For there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began, and it will never be so great again. In fact, sorry, we don't want to log out. My computer's trying to log out. Hope that's keeping going there. So, in fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive. But it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. Then if anyone tells you, look, here's the Messiah, or there he is, don't believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you about this ahead of time. Wow. Just a side note, church, we have to grow in the things of the Lord. Intimacy with Father, Son, Holy Spirit, walking closely with the Lord, knowing who He is, becoming more and more familiar with the Lord, being in His Word, praying, being aware of the truth and holding fast to the plumb lines of the truth. Because in the days or when times come like this, and it's happened throughout history in different levels, all kinds of religious stuff, all kind of spiritual gurus, all people identifying some great, mysterious, powerful thing. Just have to be really aware of that. Anyway, so much to unpack there. Verse 26, so if someone tells you, look, the Messiah is out in the desert, don't bother to go out and look. Or look, he's hiding here. Don't believe it. For as the lightning flashes in the east and shines to the west, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Just as the gathering of vultures shows there's a carcass nearby, so these signs indicate that the end is near. Immediately after the anguish of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will give no light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Wow. I'm going to read on. And then at last, the sign that the Son of Man is coming will appear in the heavens, and there will be a deep mourning among all the peoples of the earth, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And He will send His angels out. So they do want us to stop here. I don't know why, but I'm going to honor the reading there and pause, maybe because of the weight of that. I think the emphasis there is the fact believers and people seeking the Lord, or seekers, we will know when it's Jesus' return. We will know when it's His coming. The little things or spectacular things, nah. We're going to be totally aware of God's returning Son, the Son of Man, Jesus Christ. It'll be a spectacular event. It won't be some kind of like here and there thing. Anyway, there you go, folks. Bless you. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.